Behind me are the slave quarters located in the rear of a house owned by Wilmer and Virginia McLean. It was in the parlor of the McLean house that Confederate General Robert E. Lee surrendered to Union General Ulysses S. Grant on Sunday, April 9th, 1865. Now, the surrender did not end the Civil War, but which started on for another 6 weeks or so, but it made a final Union victory inevitable. Lee's surrender also liberated at least 9 enslaved people living in the small white buildings behind the McLean house at the time of the surrender. They were liberated under the terms of Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, the final proclamation issued on January 1st, 1863. That proclamation was issued as under his authority as commander in chief and presented as a military necessity. And it affected only areas that the Union armies did not occupy as of January 1st, 1863, and that included the McLean House, which is located in Appomattox Courthouse, Virginia. The Constitution, of course, recognized slavery and protected slavery and would not be abolished until the ratification of the 13th Amendment on December 18th, 1865. Now, in this week's lecture presentation, I want to focus on the lives of enslaved Americans, particularly through the lens of Roots, a 1977 miniseries with the significant subtitle, The Saga of an American Family, not an African American family or a black family, but an American family. For most of the millions of Americans who watched the miniseries, it was their first introduction to the lives of enslaved Americans from the perspective of those Americans. Previous films and television productions had shown slavery from the point of view of whites, with slaves usually portrayed as content with their lot or loyal to their owners. As for those known to be enslaved by Wilmer and Virginia McLean, all of them were women and children. There was one of the women was named Betty Love Stewart. She had 4 children. They worked alongside another woman. Her name was Mary Ann, who had 3 children. We don't know Mary Ann's last name. And they all worked as caretakers of the McLean house. In addition to cooking the family's meals, they took care of the McLean children. So they were like nannies. They maintained the house, so they're housekeepers, and they looked after the family's animals, its livestock. Their liberation came 2 months before Juneteenth, which is now a federal holiday, when a Union general informed Texas slaves that under the terms of the Emancipation Proclamation, they were free. So that happened on June 19th. Now, we often think of slavery as a system of oppression, and so it was, yet the enslaved still managed to function as a community, to function as families, if not literally families, then by way of mutual support. And this is the viewpoint that American audiences encountered when they watched Roots. And let me share the screen with you. And let's see, we're going to have to optimize for video viewing. And we have this. These things are never easy to do. Okay, that's the slave quarters. And now we have the sort of the poster or whatever of the miniseries. It remains one of television's landmark programs. It was a 12-hour miniseries, and it aired on ABC TV from January 23rd to January 30th, 1977. So I was a senior in high school, 17 years old at the time. I remember watching the whole thing with all my high school classmates every day. We would talk about it. in school, and so did millions of Americans who encountered one another at water coolers and businesses, and in coffee shops and everywhere. Just people were talking about this miniseries continually. The irony is that ABC executives initially feared that that a historical saga about slavery would be a ratings disaster. They scheduled it to air on 8 consecutive nights so that it would end before what was called Sweeps Week, when the most important data on audience share and number of viewers would be collected by Nielsen, a firm that specialized in collecting this kind of data and exerted enormous influence because companies based the amount of money they were willing to pay for a commercial on a given TV program based on those Nielsen ratings. The higher its ratings, the more money a TV network could command in terms of how much it was going to charge for advertisements. Instead, Roots scored higher ratings than any previous entertainment program in television history. On average, 80 million people watched each of the first 7 episodes. 100 million viewers, almost half the country, watched the final episode. Overall, a stunning 85% of all television homes saw all or part of the miniseries. Roots also enjoyed unusual social acclaim for a television show. Over 250 universities planned courses on the saga, and during the broadcast, over 30 cities declared Roots weeks. The program drew generally rave reviews. Black and white critics alike praised Roots for presenting African American characters who were not tailored to suit white audiences. Critical acclaim echoed the show's resounding popular success. Roots earned over 30 Emmy Awards and numerous other distinctions. Now, here is the trailer that introduced audiences to the miniseries. Okay? And I'm going to show it to you and comment on it briefly.
Opioid addiction gets between you and what you love. Once monthly Sublocade.
And incidentally, I paid YouTube Premium so we could avoid the advertisements, but guess what? I'm getting the advertisements anyway, so I apologize for that. Okay, here comes the trailer for the miniseries.
Tonight, we present a landmark in television entertainment. Roots, the true story Alex Haley uncovered in his 12-year search across the 7 generations of his ancestry. After 2 years of production, we present this incredible saga in an epic motion picture. Roots, the current #1 best-selling novel, is the television event of the year. From primitive Africa to the Old South. So, Roots sweeps across the panorama of a young America, bursting with all the dreams, all the joys, and all the hardships of a vibrant country and its people through the years of slavery. The Civil War.
Are we gonna whoop them Yankees?
Reconstruction. And the struggle to survive.
We want you, nigga.
A film spanning more than 100 years, generation to generation, continent to continent, slavery to freedom.
Hear me, O African. The flesh of your flesh has come to freedom. We are free.
Roots, starring Ben Vereen, Edward Asner, Lorne Greene, Cicely Tyson, O.J. Simpson, Linda Day George, Chuck Connors, John Amos, Leslie Uggams, Lloyd Bridges, Burl Ives, Louis Gossett Jr., Vic Morrow, George Stanford Brown, Ralph Waite, and introducing LeVar Burton as Kunta Kinte. Now, we are proud to present the triumph of an American family, Roots.
Okay. Notice that the miniseries was billed as the true story taken from Alex Haley's best-selling book, but then described as a novel for television. And calling it a novel proved to be a better term. I'm going to go to the next slide. There we go. Okay. Um, Calling it a novel proved to be the better term, for historians soon discovered a number of major inaccuracies in Haley's book, but this did not affect the lasting power of the miniseries. Also, notice the number of white actors shown in the trailer. These were well known television actors that helped to reassure network executives that the miniseries would find an audience. All actors, white and black alike, were dedicated to the production and worked for the minimum wage allowed by the Screen Actors Guild. The white actors were almost entirely cast against type, so that Lorne Greene, who was Kunta Kinte's first master, was famous for a Western called Bonanza, and he was like a heroic patriarch, larger than life figure. Ralph Waite, who played a kind of an expert on transporting slaves across the Atlantic Ocean, was the very sympathetic father on the Waltons, and so on. So these white actors who normally played sympathetic characters in this miniseries portrayed unsympathetic characters and often downright cruel characters in the miniseries. A key element in its success owed to the fact that it's centered on a family, something that that people can relate to. Everybody can relate to the experience of having a family, and the family is specifically that of Kunta Kinte, who was a Mandingo or Mandinka, from the Mandinka tribe or community, whatever you want to call it. He's shown here as a newborn with his mother and father. Okay. Over the 8 nights that the miniseries aired, audiences saw Kunta Kinte captured around 1750 and forced into slavery, but also becoming a husband and a father. It saw Kunta Kinte's daughter born into slavery, sold to an owner who took her forever away from her parents and who raped her. In fact, she had a child, by this experience with a man who forced herself on her against her will. The miniseries concluded with the family's achievement of freedom after the Civil War, and the son, of Kizzy's successful effort to defend that freedom, and for that matter, his nieces and nephews, against marauding members of the Ku Klux Klan. So it really goes from Kunta Kinte down to his great grandchildren. The miniseries begins with a long sequence that depicts Kunta Kinte's birth, his childhood, his loving relationship with his parents, and the strong support he receives from other adults in the village where he lives. By the time he is captured, enslaved, and put aboard a slave ship that takes him and other slaves on a 2-month voyage to North America, the television audience has come to identify with him, and the sequence drives home the enslavement of Africans and the cruelty of the voyage known to history as the Middle Passage. The ship makes port in Annapolis, Maryland, at the height of the slave trade. That it all seized about 11 Africans and sold them into slavery. Some in North America, but many in the Caribbean, because in the Caribbean, working on the Sugar Islands, there was virtually a death sentence. Very few enslaved persons survived more than 2 years, so you constantly had to replenish the supply of enslaved persons. Kunta Kinte is purchased at auction by John Reynolds, a plantation owner who gives him the Christian name Toby, which Kunta Kinte firmly rejects. And Roots had the entire country talking about its numerous dramatic episodes, but perhaps none is so searing as the one in which Kunta Kinte is forced to answer to the name Toby. So, following the scene is going to be a video clip in which LeVar Burton, who played the young Kinte, interprets the scene in 2015. Before the whipping was broadcast on network television, I think it's appropriate to show it here. But if you believe that you would find it too harrowing, you can fast forward through its 3 minutes, 57-second length, and go straight to LeVar Burton's interpretation.
Franklin University makes it possible. Time has come, make a break from his.
James, your name is Toby. I want to hear you say it. Your name is Toby. You're going to learn to say your name. Let me hear you say it. What's your name?
Kunta Kinte.
When the master gives you something, you take it. He gave you a name. It's a nice name. It's Toby. And it's going to be yours till the day you die. Now, I know you understand me, and I want to hear it. Again! I want to hear you say your name. Your name is Toby. What's your name?
Kunta.
Lord God, help that boy. They're gonna whip him dead.
What's your name? Say it. Toby. Who are you? Say your name. What's your name?
Toby.
Hi. Say it again. Say it louder so they all can hear you. What's your name?
Toby. My name is Toby.
Hi. That's a good nigger. Cut him down.
Okay, I'm going to pause here. I forgot that I was going to talk about this. I think I'll do it on the other side. I'm going to give you a break and then resume by talking about this scene from the soldier story. Believe it, it's set during World War II, but believe it relates to the miniseries pretty directly.